Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. So before I get started, I want to thank each and every one of you who have made donations to my channel. I truly appreciate it. Your donations will go towards improving the quality of this channel. So again, I thank you for your donations, for your viewership, for your subscriptions, and for liking my videos. I cannot thank you enough. So now I want to go into the substance of this video. A couple of days ago, I posted a video entitled Booker T. Washington Was a Coon. And in response to that video, I received some criticism. And in fact, another YouTuber did a response video. So I want to take out time now to reply to the comments and to reply to O'Shea Duke Jackson. There's a lot of overlap between what he said and what a lot of the people in the comment section said. So this should cover the criticism that I received. The first point that O'Shea made, and before I get into his points, let me just say this. I recognize the great accomplishments of Booker T. Washington. I understand that he rose from being a slave to being a prominent African-American leader. That is an accomplishment in and of itself. I understand that the brother founded Tuskegee Institute, an institute that educated many black people and improved the lives of many black people. I don't take that away from him. But that point alone, him establishing a university, him writing books, and him being a prominent black leader, doesn't take away from the fact. It doesn't take away from the assertions that I made in my last video about Booker T. Washington. For all intents and purposes, that brother wore the mask of a coon. And when I say that, I mean that he essentially played the role that white people wanted to see in order to get money from white people so that he could build his institution and so that he could finance, his program and all that kind of stuff. There's no question about that. That's what I'm saying. He put on a show for white people. He played the role of the coon. Now, in response to my video, O'Shea Duke Jackson made a couple of points. His first point was that you have to consider the historical context. Booker T. Washington rose to prominence shortly after slavery. This was during a time when white people were able to terrorize black people, lynch black people, jail black people for any trumped up reason. So for that reason, O'Shea Duke Jackson basically said, I can understand why Booker T would advocate black people being in a subjugated position, at least for now. He understands why Booker T. Washington would take a passive, submissive position when it comes to white people and white racism. And, this is my response to that. I don't think the historical context is an excuse for submitting to white supremacy. I don't think that that is an excuse for kowtowing and putting up with being a second-class citizen. I don't think that's an excuse. Because during that time, even during slavery, you had brave African men and women who stood up to the slave master. You had men like Nat Turner, a bold, courageous black man who waged an armed rebellion against the slave master. You have the example of Denmark Vesey. You have the example of Gabriel Prosser. These were brave, courageous men who were willing to sacrifice their very lives for freedom. Sacrifice their lives. These weren't people that talked about freedom. These were people who actually did something to try to free themselves and their people. You had people like Harriet Tubman, risking her life, risking her freedom to free other Africans held in bondage. That took bravery. That took courage. That took fortitude. You had the brother Frederick Douglass, a brother who spoke out strongly and boldly against slavery, against inequality, against injustice. See, those men and those women understood what a prominent person said. They said that it is better to die on your feet than to live on your knees. And basically, Booker T. Washington lived on his knees. He submitted to the white man. He surrendered to the white man. He kowtowed and cooned for the white man to get money from the white man, whereas those others were willing to sacrifice their very lives. Some of them perished as martyrs, but they died as men instead of living as slaves and as second-class citizens. You know, so I don't buy this notion that because he lived in a time shortly after slavery, that excuses cowardice. Now, the next point I want to talk about is this whole issue of wealth versus politics. You know, people say, well, your vote doesn't mean anything if you don't have wealth. So I want to talk about this for a second. As I said in my last video, you need to participate in politics in order to protect your interests. Even a corporation. Let me plug this phone up before it goes out. Even corporations use politics to protect their economic interests. Without politics, you cannot protect the wealth that you amass. As I said in the last video, I mean, we saw the example of Black Wall Street. If wealth was all Black people needed to influence policy, why would Black Wall Street be burned to the ground? Why didn't the people in Black Wall Street have influence over the political system if wealth is all you need to influence the system? Wealth and politics go hand in hand. Of course, people are able to influence policy with wealth, but wealth alone is not enough. And people have said, well, our votes don't matter. And when I hear that, I have to ask the question, I mean, a common sense question. If our vote did not matter, why did white supremacists try to prevent us from exercising our right to vote if our vote didn't matter? Why did they have poll taxes, literacy tests, if our vote didn't matter? Why are they attacking our voting rights today if our votes don't matter? Why are they going to the Supreme Court like they did in Shelby County versus Holder, fighting against our voting rights? Why would they go to the Supreme Court to strike down Section 4 of the Voting Rights Act if our vote did not matter? Why are places like North Carolina and Texas passing laws designed to suppress Black and Latino voters if our votes don't matter? If our votes don't matter, why are politicians even bothering to come to Black communities seeking Black votes if our votes don't matter? Our votes have power if they're organized properly. Now, don't get me wrong. Of course, people should use their wealth to try to influence the process as well by lobbying, you know, by putting money behind certain candidates and running certain candidates. But there is power in the vote when it's organized and when it's focused, and when you have intelligent, informed voters who hold their politicians accountable. Our vote matters. It is through the vote that people were able to dismantle Jim Crow laws. See, when you can't vote, you cannot change the policies that exist. You can't change laws that regulate you to a second-class citizen status if you cannot vote. And I want to deal with this whole thing of, one point that O'Shea Duke Jackson made was this. He talked about how Martin Luther King destroyed the black community, and he basically asked the question, what did you get for your civil rights? Basically implying that black people got nothing for our civil rights, and that civil rights is undermining or destroying the black community. He said that Martin Luther King destroyed the black community. Now, I just want to respond to this for a second. What did our civil rights get us? A large black middle class. That's what our civil rights movement got us. What did our civil rights movement get us? The right to attend any university that we're qualified to attend. I mean, here you have a man questioning the importance of civil rights when this man, O'Shea Duke Jackson, probably, went to a white undergrad, and now this brother is going to school in Poland. That wouldn't even be possible.